here's another tip I wanted to share with you. When you're stitching, you want your crosses to all look nice and even, like little X's, and ideally, if you go down the row and back across, then the next row down the row, back across, next one down, they'll all look nice and even like that without being tugged in a weird direction. But on a pattern like this one, where you're changing color a lot, the official way to do it would be to tie down your string and start again when you have to make a jump. But to be honest, I'm lazy and I don't do that. I won't jump like halfway across the thing, but I will do a run of about 10 stitches or so. So when I do that, to keep it from looking weird on the front, let me find where my thread is. Oh, here's my needle. So I just did this stitch here in gray. If you can, I'll see if I can pop back up. Oh, nowhere near it. Here we go. Right here is the stitch I just did, this gray one. And if I were to jump and come up down to the right of it, here we go. If I were to come up, say, in this hole down here, that would actually look fine, because if you look at that gray one, how it's tugging it kind of in the opposite direction from where I just was. Whereas if I came up and tried to do a stitch over here on the left side next, what that would do to that gray one is tug it kind of down and sideways like that. And that one stitch, it doesn't look really bad right now, but if you imagine every stitch around it was kind of pulled in a slightly different direction, especially if you go up and in the same direction of where you just ended that stitch, that's going to stick out because it's not going to look tucked in like all your other stitches. So if you have to make a jump, try to go in the opposite direction from where you just ended that stitch if you can. And that'll keep all your squares looking even, as if you were able to just go down to the next row below it, even if you actually jumped over to the side. Another thing to think about when you're going to make a jump isn't just which direction to go next, but which corner of your square to start your next one in. So I just finished this gray one right here, and I'm going to tug down to next to this white one. Normally I'd start in the bottom left corner, but if I did that, I'll go ahead and pull it up to kind of show you. See how it doesn't really sit in the bottom of that square very nicely? It actually is kind of raised a little bit because it came from so high up here. If you think about what it's doing on the back, it's actually tugging it up a little bit. So I'm going to undo that stitch. And instead of starting in the bottom left, I'll start in the top right. It's still coming down, but because I'm then going in the opposite direction, it'll actually make that square look more normal. So when you're having to jump around a lot, don't only think about where your next one to go is, but where to start your next one so that you can keep them all looking even.